All right, so I'm going to go ahead and call the Select Board meeting for June 3rd to order at 5 p.m. Could I have a roll call, please?
Valerie Goodrich, present.
Veronica Kell, present. Laura Schifrin is absent tonight, and we have Nelson Moy, our town administrator, and Sabrina will be joining us in a bit. So please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to announce that the meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to YouTube. I'd like to confirm if there are any other parties recording. Is there anyone present in the room there, Nelson?
Nope, just two of us.
All right. All right. So I assume no one else is recording since I have not heard otherwise. Moving on, chairman's additions or deletions. I have none. Valerie or Nelson, do either of you have additions or deletions?
Nope.
Nope.
All right. And there are no minutes to approve at this meeting. So at this, I'm sorry.
Yes, that's correct. No meeting minutes to approve.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So with that, I'd like to move to section 6, the executive session, to conduct a strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining. Well, no, in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel. And this includes all non-union personnel. Also 6.2, going into an executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body. And so we will be returning to open session for our 6:05 joint meeting with the Finance Committee. So with that, with the motion, I made the motion to go into executive session. Is there a second?
Seconded. At 5:03, right?
Yes, at 5:03 p.m. All right.
So Harley, you can stop recording now, and then we will jump back on to this open meeting right at 6:05 for the joint meeting with the Finance Committee.
Okay, I will continue. I'll pause the recording. I'll stay on as the Zoom host, and you guys will leave and then come back. Let me know when you're coming back.
Okay.
All those in favor? I don't think.
Oh, we didn't vote. I'm sorry. Thank you, Valerie. All right. All those in favor move into executive session. And before we do that, Nelson, is there another Zoom link for this?
There is. I sent it to you a few minutes ago.
Okay. I'm going to need time then once we vote and everything goes away. I'm going to need time to go into my email and find that.
Okay.
So, okay. All right. So with that, all in favor of moving into executive session, roll call vote, please. Valerie?
Valerie Goodrich, aye.
And Veronica Kell, aye. All right. Thank you very much. And
Veronica, you just want to give Don 1 minute? He's not here yet.
yeah, it's 6:05, right, for the meeting with FinCom.
5:59 right now, so.
Yeah. So I think we could go to 3.1 and make a motion to appoint the flag committee members. Reappoint.
Yep. I move to reappoint Derek Tennant and Todd Arsenal to the American Flag Committee effective 7/01/2025 with a term to expire 7/01/2028.
Veronica Cal second. Is there any discussion? I have none. All those in favor, roll call vote, please.
Valerie Goodrich, aye.
And Veronica Cal, aye. And another appointment?
Yep. 3.2, I move to appoint Cody Streeter to Zoning Board of Appeals as a full member effective 6/03/2025 with a term to expire 6/30/2026.
And I, Veronica Cal, will second that. Any further discussion? All right, roll call vote. All those in favor, Valerie Goodrich
Valerie
Roll
Goodrich, aye.
and Veronica Cal, aye. So welcome Colby to the CBA.
I think we could. Do you feel good about doing 4.1, Veronica, or no? Do you want to discuss?
I want to discuss that a little bit. Let's go to 4.2. Is there a motion to assign a signatory for the Community Compact Grant Phase 2, 2025?
I move to assign Town Administrator Nelson Mui as signatory for the Community Compact Grant Phase 2, 2025.
Veronica Cal second. Any further discussion?
Nope.
All right, so vote, roll call,
Valerie Goodrich, aye.
and Veronica Cal, aye. Just out of curiosity, do we have the rodenticide policy available? Was that able to be reviewed by town council?
Not reviewed yet.
Not reviewed. All right, so we will move 4.3 to the June 17th meeting. I didn't know if that had gotten back yet, so. All right. Looking to see further down.
I think the rest of them are discussions.
Yeah, I think so too. I have 6:03. What time do you have there?
6:02.
Okay, do we have a quorum yet for FinCom?
We do.
Yep.
And everybody's here.
All right. Now, I'll wait 2 minutes.
Did you want to do 4.12? Is that?
We could do that. Let's go to 4:12. Is there a motion?
Yep. I move to approve the Childscapes Playground Equipment Contract contingent upon Town Council review and signature out of session. I move to grant signatory authority to Town Administrator Nelson Mui to sign the ANR in connection with the Childscapes Playground contract.
Veronica Cal second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote, please.
Valerie Goodrich, aye.
And Veronica Cal, aye. All right, and with that, do I need to wait another minute?
We have a quorum here.
Yeah,
All right, we have a quorum here.
we do, but we can take this little bit to get started on Finance Committee calling to order.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So this is the Township Finance Committee with a joint meeting with the Select Board. The joint meeting starting at 6:05. The meeting is called to order. Since everybody is present, just voice. Roll call, please.
Carol Zigas is here.
Carol Hoss is here.
Sam Grant here.
Mary Jane Churchill here.
Mark Hussey here.
Don Hayes here. That gives us a quorum. We are good to go. At this point, I'm not aware of any additions or deletions, so we can continue into the joint meeting with the Select Board.
All All right, so I'd like to open the Select Board's joint meeting with the Finance Committee at 6:05 PM. I don't know that we need a roll call, but let's do one anyway, so.
Sally Goodrich, present.
And Veronica Cal present. So the purpose of this meeting is to discuss the FY26 omnibus budget and Finance Committee recommendation. So I guess what I'd like to do, Nelson, if you're okay with it, is to transfer to you to go over the budget that the Select Board has in place.
So I had shared with Dawn over the weekend the omnibus budget, and the way it's structured at the moment, just to back up a little bit, we're not allowed to sort of discuss, where potential wage and salary cuts will be coming from, whether it's a department or a position, until we've reached out to the respective unions and, get them to the bargaining table to discuss what those impacts would be. But to be as transparent as possible, what I've ended up doing was, at the end of each functional segment in the omnibus budget, right above it is a line that I call salary and wages reduction total. So that is what the Select Board have determined the cut should be in that functional segment. And, once the budget passes, we will then go to, all the unions to start discussing what the impacts would be to their.
Once a budget's passed though, can you go back and negotiate?
Yeah.
No, I'm not sure about
What
that.
if they don't agree and come to the
Exactly.
Do you want me to,
conclusion?
I can read
I don't
from
think
the
that-
Labor Council if you want.
Well, I mean, we're looking at it as a budgetary thing.
Yeah.
So if you pass a budget and the union doesn't
That's it.
agree, what happens? And why are we doing this so late?
Well, go ahead.
We can't negotiate with the unions until the voters have sort of.
So just so I understand, we're negotiating with the union simply for reduction in workforce, not a new contract, or am I wrong?
No, you're correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a new
Okay.
contract.
So again, how do we get a balanced budget without a real number?
We have,
And what happens if it doesn't work out?
the way I understand it is they could, if we presented and said, these are where we believe the reduction should come from,
Mhm.
they could come back and say, that's the number, we think the reduction should come from this way.
But the number won't change.
And we have to have, it's a balanced budget number.
So again, what will the unions do
They can't, I mean,
if
the
they don't
select board
agree with what you're telling them?
There
What
is a,
happens?
I'm sorry, go ahead, Nelson, are you answering that? I mean, you can refer to the contracts too, which allow for management rights.
Yeah, it gives the Select Board certain, privileges, and it's built into the contract that.
So again, can you answer my question? If they don't agree with it, what could happen? Or they have to agree to it? There's a point, what happens if they don't agree to it? You're asking the townspeople to pass a budget that could be fictional.
the numbers are real.
The numbers are real, but are we gonna owe them later? Or what if they don't agree with it?
If we don't have the money, we can't pay more than we have.
So it's all subject to appropriation, that language is in their contract.
It's in their contract.
Right.
That's the best for the town. I'm really concerned about this.
I am too. I mean, I don't understand why it's been 3 months that you can't get it together to talk to the unions. I'm not understanding that.
The Labor Council has said time and time again, we cannot talk to them until everyone has agreed.
Until we pass a budget?
I just can't,
I
That
don't
doesn't
buy
make any
that, yeah.
sense.
I
I'm
can
sorry.
read-
I don't understand. You can read to me what you want.
No, this is
But
just
it-
from Labor Council. so
Okay,
this
yeah,
is
I'll
our-
listen to that, sure.
Yeah, so
I
the
know.
Labor Council specifically says, I would caution against publicly specifying how the budget reductions will be achieved. Not the number,
Right,
but how.
but where they're gonna fall, okay.
That's what they say. Because, I'm just gonna paraphrase a little bit here.
Mhm.
The budget reductions may not be ultimately achieved by the unions the same way the select board thinks they should,
Okay.
right? And if the town were to publicly state how the budget reductions would be achieved, right?
Mm-hmm.
Without first bargaining, the unions could file unfair labor charges with the Department of Labor.
And sue us, yeah. How about
So
that?
there you go.
So that's why we
Well-
can't do it though.
Oh, well, there you go.
So it just doesn't make sense to me. I'll be honest with you,
Do
okay?
you think we're
And,
ready to talk to DLS about receivership? Do we have money or what? We've been meeting for months on this.
So we have a balance.
We
budget.
don't feel that it's transparent
Okay,
information.
I want to ask a
Okay.
question,
Go ahead.
same question, different way. So just say, like, you're going to take a $5,000 reduction in whatever. So, and that's what we need to do, is we need to reduce whatever contract by $5,000. You go back to union and you think it's going to be X, Y, and Z positions, but the union still has to cut $5,000 no
Yes.
matter what. But they can come back and say it's going to be A, B, and C positions.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, so they have to do the cut. It's just a matter of
Yes.
agreeing to
How?
the cuts are gonna be done. We can propose them, they can come and counter,
Correct.
but in the end result is, we say it has to be reduced by $5,000.
So that will
It-
happen then. So
and-
that's
and
a
that
true,
will-
then it is a true number.
Because that's the budget, if that's the budget that
Yeah.
is passed by the town.
Okay, so if that's what's passed by the town, that we say we're gonna give that piece is a $5,000 reduction, and that's what the town votes on. The union can't say, no, we're only gonna give you a $2,000 reduction. All they can do is say, we wanna take it here instead of there.
Yes.
And that is exactly my understanding of why we need the vote from the town first.
Yeah, you agree on the number and then it's up to the.
And
select
that number
board.
will not change.
Without going back to town meeting, obviously.
The budget number as a
Yes.
total will not change.
Does it actually say that they can't negotiate first? Is it written down someplace?
It's a law.
You're not bargaining in good faith if sort of you are,
If you don't have the number.
yeah.
But we don't have it.
We would be making it up.
That's what they're gonna
Making
get.
it up though, right?
No, we're not.
No.
We're not making up any numbers.
No,
We've
we're
got-
not. But if we went to them before we had a final vote,
We have a plan, right?
I
Yeah.
don't know.
So,
Do or
it-
not.
it-
I mean, I'm.
yeah,
so
so I
confused.
think in
Why
conjunction,
do we have a
not
new
just,
omnibus? Is that what
Yes,
you're talking
the
about?
omnibus, yep, the
You're
omnibus
right,
is new, Nelson was describing. All of the numbers for each position are fully back in there, it appears. And at the end of each section, there is a line that says salary / wages
Should I bring it up,
reduction
Nelson?
total.
Yeah, could you, I got it yesterday. I really didn't have time. to
Right,
look at it.
it's kind of like, so, and with
I
that,
don't know. I'm
it's
not
a,
like you. This is
I
sneaky.
think-
This is sneaky. This is not above board.
no,
This
there's
is
still
not-
some questions
Mhm.
that
Nah.
were in the last budget that aren't in this one, mostly in the notes
Okay.
area.
Oh,
That-
No, I'm gonna find the OS. I'm gonna find
we also have
it. When did you give it?
printouts as well.
Oh, do you? Oh, that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Pass one.
Thank you. Yes, yeah.
This is yours.
Nope, everyone gets a copy. It's just a one.
Oh, okay. It's just the, big total.
Sam, will it help if it's up on the screen behind you?
Oh, that I can do, yeah. I just didn't wear my jacket today, a little warm, my glasses are permanently buried
This is
here.
the same one that you printed out, that you sent
Okay.
to, because I printed mine.
Okay, I didn't know if anyone,
Yeah.
needed a copy, so.
There's a couple of extras here, if somebody needs them.
So, if you look in the omnibus budget, line,
Can you just pull it up there, so Sam can read it too?
sure.
This, oh, it's in 206, 206. I mean, 26, 26, 26. Is there no 25 or is that 25?
Was it,
The one,
that, so Mary Jane, that first number is the FY 25,
with the one that says,
that's the date it was passed. So it would be, it was
25,
passed
okay.
in August of 2024, at that special town meeting.
So as you can see here, so general government, that's the first functional segment. This is this line in black here. So the total, you know, is being proposed is 1,629,936. And right above it, you will see this line, salaries and wages reduction total.
is that on this sheet or no?
It is. You just have to flip to the correct line.
Okay, what line is it?
That would be 254.
Okay. 254, I see. Salaries reduction total.
So that is what is the proposed total for salaries and wages reduction for that functional segment that we are looking to reduce by.
So you're looking to reduce salaries in the amount of $27,619
From general government.
from general government only.
Correct.
Right,
Again, this is the general government
the
functional.
general
segment.
government covers
Well, let's see, what does it cover?
town clerk,
Town clerk, accounting, assessing,
Facilities,
support staff.
facilities,
Okay.
select board.
Yep. finance.
It's a pretty big account.
So it's gonna be picking and choosing. So some people are gonna lose their jobs, some are gonna be reduced, some are gonna get more money. Is that what we're looking at here?
We can't reveal what that,
Oh, it's a secret, okay.
well, again, it's.
That's all right.
what
It's
was-
undetermined. It's not secret, but it's undetermined at this point.
And Veronica, thank you.
Oh, good.
Okay. What kind of pick? It's a pick and choose. It's a penalty and a
But that's a presumption you're making, right? I just
no,
want to be
I
clear.
don't think so. I think it's a fact.
No, but it's not, because we haven't said we're picking and choosing. That's not, we have a number there, right?
Semantics, okay, got it.
But I'm just, how would you say it if you were in our position?
I wouldn't do what you're doing.
What would you do differently?
I would try to save jobs, save salaries. I would try to save trash. I would try to do savings instead of picking and choosing who I'm gonna reward and who I'm gonna punish. That's how I would do it.
Do we want to go to the next section?
So the next section is public safety, which includes police, fire, TEMA, communication center, building department, and all the various, you know, folks under, you know, the inspectors, all the various trades, animal control, tree warden. We
What
are
line number is that?
It's
500.
501, I think is the reduction, 500, I'm sorry. So the reduction will be 4,186.
No,
No,
138.
Okay,
Four
yeah,
oh four.
yeah, okay.
so we are proposing that amount in salary and wages reductions in public safety.
That includes police and fire.
Yes.
Police, fire, animal control, tree warden,
Building,
communication, well, we don't do that
Building
anymore.
inspectors.
So, all right, so I see the reduction.
Yeah,
What's that supposed to represent?
That's the public safety total. That's
Yeah, that
4 million.
line-
The black lines?
Yeah.
You're asking, that's the total.
Total,
The
yeah.
total for public safety with that included.
You can kind of see because
Yeah.
of that increased school
Yeah.
assessment, we don't have a lot. I mean, versus the special town meeting, that's,
And with that, the line, they're adding up all of the subtotals that have already been in there, but then subtracting out in the formula, that last line.
The 138.
Correct, the 138, so So it's in the formula that you actually have to see that
Okay, so this line here, the 4,186,000 includes that reduction?
it's, yeah. Yep.
Okay,
So it adds all the subtotals and then takes out the 138,404
okay.
to give you what the new section for public safety. is.
501.
So the 501 is the total for public safety.
And then, you know, on it goes to other ones which we can certainly review at the moment. The school doesn't change. Highway's the next big one, which includes, you know, highway and then snow and ice budget. And we are looking at a reduction of, you know, 63,000.
Yeah.
How much is snow and ice?
63,395.
Around
Reduction?
567.
So how much do they have now?
That line right
Eight to
underneath.
line.
Underneath it would be 812,000.
812,793. And again, these reductions are up to them to,
How?
okay, but it's,
Who's they?
well, that
Very
department,
few
all those,
Unions
the
and
very-
Department
right,
of Unions.
right.
unions and sure, communicating with the departments.
It's okay.
So are we, so, I don't even know how to answer this question. So we have communicated with these departments and telling them that this is the amount that's coming out of their budgets?
No, we have to discuss amongst us before I can start talking to them.
Really?
So, and, you know, and there's only so much I can,
Opposite.
there's only so much I can reveal to them too, because again, we haven't gone to the unions to collective.
And by law, you can't until there's a budget passed.
Correct.
According to what they understand.
Well, this is according to the town labor council,
We
and,
can only go with what we get from legal,
yeah,
right?
because we could get,
It's kind of a crappy
Are
law,
you allowed
but
to tell us who that is?
Yeah, it's the same,
it's Jane Friedman.
she'd be happy to answer, I'm sure, questions around this.
Okay, so that's the salaries. So salaries, secret. What's with the trash? No trash?
The trash has been removed with the exception of the additional $10,000 for the
Town pickup?
town pick.
for
the town
municipal
for the-
pickup, all right, yeah.
Right.
And there is gonna be a special town meeting article to select a solid waste enterprise fund.
For curbside,
Correct.
okay.
And that's what the select board later in this meeting, after this meeting is, the joint meeting is over, they will be discussing and, you know, reviewing. This was, you know, working in conjunction with the Board of Health.
You guys are having a public meeting about that, right?
I think the 12th is
On
it?
the 12th.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Now, is it an actual public hearing or just a
I
public?
think it's a public hearing, I thought.
It says,
It's
12th?
we looked at the bylaws.
I'm sorry?
To set fees, it has to be a public hearing.
Right, I guess, I mean, my understanding
That's-
is it is a
that's what
public
We
hearing.
looked up in the bylaws. It's
Okay.
kind of like I was looking up the setting of the
Yeah,
enterprise fund. and it
okay.
said If there's setting of fees, the finance committee and Board of Health need
Okay.
to have
Yeah.
a joint. public
Can I jump in there on this? If it's a public hearing, isn't there a period of time that it has to be advertised
7 days.
And I-
in 7 days? And has it been?
We have 2 more days to get it posted.
Okay,
Board of Health may have it posted.
They do.
Yeah, I
and so,
thought they did.
We need to
Yeah, if you
follow up.
look at the.
good. Okay, thank you.
We're, should be on top of that.
Do you want to keep going
I
through
think
the
we
salary
should-
reductions,
Yeah.
Nelson, just so we get through all of them?
Sure, so we just got highway and streets.
Yeah.
The next one is,
Solid waste.
694,
I think we should talk to.
Human
talk to
services?
ourselves.
I think.
I really do.
yeah, let's see what is
It
it.
can't, all right.
It can't hurt.
Yeah, human
I think we should
services,
be talking to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so much time to
there's a reduction of 13,886 being proposed.
So on 694.
Union person.
And then under culture and recreation, there is a reduction of 15.
That's line 744.
744?
Yep.
And those are all the proposed reductions.
So it's salaries, trash, and what's 744?
Culture,
Culture, recreation.
So with the salaries reduction, we have the 5 lines, and it's going to total
$15,000.
258,827. Yep.
Oh, those are salaries again, right? Or is that something else? 744.
744, these are supposed to be strictly the salaries.
Okay, what did
Oh,
you
we're
say?
still on salaries. Oh,
Yeah, did you say the total was 258?
258,827. That's the total of the 5 individual lines that we've looked at.
Mhm.
5 lines of reduction in salaries, correct? Total
correct, to this whole budget.
258,827.
Right.
Just out of curiosity, do we have a number of what salaries are being increased? No, it's not, okay.
Well, most contracts have a COLA and a step, and those, total 4%. But that's just what's in their current contract. That's what's scheduled. That's what scheduled to occur in FY26.
Because the contract's in place.
Correct.
That's across the board. Everybody, almost every union and.
It's been that way
Okay.
for a couple of years.
I guess the question would be fire at 9% on several
Well,
lines.
yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Is that-
that's what it
Was that 9, or I thought it was only 5?
4.5 for the assistant chief, 9 for fire prevention captain, 9.08 for operating staff lieutenant, 9.8 for EMS coordinator, 9.8 for department.
Yeah,
EMS.
are those individual
Those-
salaries or?
I'm assuming they're individual salaries based on
9%
the individuals. Yeah.
increase?
Yeah.
And then other people are gonna lose their jobs?
Right, that's a heck of a contract.
Wow.
And that's the thing
Wow.
are those the contracts within the wages increase that are in those contracts?
That's higher than any
Yeah, what's that?
Right,
department.
now, again, we didn't
Why?
have the background information
As to why this is?
as to why it could be that it's,
It
are
seems
they
to be
including
since the
overtime?
reorganization
are
started,
they-
these guys are getting some serious raises.
are they,
Well, that's gotta do with who's negotiating for the town? Who's the union negotiating for the town?
I would just like to note that the contracts were in place when we came on board as selectmen. They are
Not-
contracts that you have access to and should be able to see that. They were negotiated previously. I believe that fire is up at the end of 2026. Police is up this year and is currently in negotiation. So, and these were also the same numbers that were there when we were doing the budgeting process in
Right.
February and March. So I just want to put that out there. So I think that if you have questions on that, you should direct them to the department heads.
No questions, just,
Yeah. no,
just
it's
kind
kind of
of,
like, yep, it's kind of
What?
like,
No, I have a question.
okay, go ahead.
How do we get a union negotiated for us? And so obviously they were negotiated by former Board of Selectmen who don't seem to have had the municipality at the forefront. So how do we get a real negotiator?
I guess I would like to stay with the purpose of the meeting, which is to discuss the FY26 omnibus budget and the Finance Committee recommendations. I'm sure that's something that can be brought up when we are re-entering negotiations with these contracts. But at this point, the contracts that are in place are the contracts that we have.
Okay, that takes care of my question. Yet again, oh, someone has a question.
I mean, I had
John.
questions that related back to potentially a prior version of a budget we've seen. The assistant town clerk position at one point had referenced the $19,000 opera funding. I don't see anything mentioned in this regarding the ARPA funding.
That's not here at the moment. I haven't incorporated it into this budget at the moment.
Okay, so,
But, you know, it's, we kind of have talked about it. I don't see a problem putting it or elsewhere, that 19,000 in ARPA funds. It could go anywhere to
right,
sort of
but
offset the budget.
if that's the case, is that 19,000 going to offset the 258 a little bit and bring it down to 240?
It could. It could.
So it's kind of like, so if the actual number is 240 because we're using ARPA funds this year, are we really at an accurate number that we can go and negotiate with?
At this point, I can't.
Do you want to answer that, Nelson, or would you like me to take that?
You can go ahead.
The numbers that we have are, it's a balanced budget based on the tax, you know, the recap, the amount that we're able to bring into the town, both in taxes and all the other ways that we do it. It is possible that we will apply those funds somewhere when we're in the process of negotiation, but it really doesn't make a big difference as far as the budget itself goes, at least not in it's $19,000. And it may make a big difference in where we're able to apply funds. Being below would be better than being over on this. So when we're going to talk to the unions.
Okay, then I'll continue along in there. There was also 2 lines in the cemetery and parks where we were going to transfer amounts from the cemetery and parks revolving fund and do salaries.
Right.
Is that transfer still going to happen?
Nelson, you should take that one.
The budget at the moment does not incorporate that transfer because of, you know, how we're looking to structure the reductions.
And then we wouldn't be transferring it after the fact to reduce the number, or is that something that's going in negotiation?
I think that's going to be part of the negotiation process.
Thank God. Yeah. It's a good hiding spot.
I think she has a question.
Yeah, Jody has a question, union person.
So I'm the union store for the clerical union. I guess I hear you, I heard what you said, I was listening downstairs regarding not being able to talk to us about a budget. But when we negotiate contracts, like we negotiated this current contract in 24. So we didn't have a budget for 25 or 26, but we still negotiated. So I guess I'm not clear on why it was okay to do it then for a 3-year contract, but now you're saying we can't do that. Because there was no budget for 25 or 26 or 23 when we negotiated.
Well,
Correct.
So again,
there's always a clause in every, you know, union contract subject to appropriation. So
No, that I understand. My question is, what I understood from that work from legal counsel was, you can't negotiate it with us until you have a number, but we have negotiated without a budget because we negotiate 24, 25, 26, and 23. So presumably we don't have budgets that far out, clearly. So how come that's okay when we're negotiating and we agree to something, but now we're getting cut and we got no heads up. So I'm trying to
The
understand.
difference to me is that when you're negotiating going forward, you don't know what those numbers are going to be. But now that we have set on numbers as a town in those negotiations, now we're looking at the subject to appropriation line. Because we, the town, do have, I don't want to say things wrong, but in any event, it's the unknown versus going forward with the unknown versus having the known and having to go backwards to work things out so that it's mutually possible. So you have to negotiate forward. And no, there's no way to know what those numbers are. But now that we're here and we know what the town has available to it, and we do have a contract in place, that's the difference.
I guess, but it seems like what you're doing is backing us into a corner. And again, that 27, I'm questioning, is that only wages? So if somebody can find it in expenses or figure something else out, or just doing wages. Like once it's voted in a town meeting, that's it, we're being cut. And again, it seems to me general government, that's like 20 people. It's not a really big general government. So I'm just asking if that 27 for general government that will affect primarily our group, is that just wages or is it something else? If they can find cuts somewhere else, or is it just wages?
This is just wages and salary.
The other expense cuts are in here, but not specifically listed. You'd have to look at the omnibus budget and see where the cuts on the expense.
The cuts, you know,
We
we've
don't
already
have,
taken into account all the departments' feedback on where they can cut on expenses. There's no, as far as I'm concerned, there's nowhere else they can cut on the expenses side. We've already gone through the exercise, you know, several weeks ago. This is the bare bones they can live with in terms of expenses.
All departments?
Yes.
All departments?
Can I ask you a question? Are you satisfied with what's going on, do you think? Are you still?
Are
Don't
you
understand.
directing that to the select board?
No, I'm
No.
asking the woman that just spoke up. I don't know her name.
My name's
Because I guess, or are you asking it of Dawn?
no,
Out of order,
they-
Veronica. You're not here, so you
yeah,
don't see what's
it's kind of
going
like,
on.
he's asking the.
I'm asking Jody,
The union rep, Jody.
the one that seemed confused. I want to see if she's still confused or, you know, if she has more questions, because sounds like she may have concerns, and I just want to know that.
Well, I'm concerned about.
I guess I am, Dawn, I'm wondering, I mean, if you want to allow that question, go ahead, but the purpose of this meeting is to review with the FinCom the omnibus budget and to look at FinCom recommendations.
No question.
So I guess I'm going to relevancy.
If we
All right.
can't ask.
I certainly think that there will be discussions with the union, there have to be. But is this the venue?
London treats the people who work and pay taxes.
Ron, go ahead, Sue.
Veronica, she's not the chair, isn't?
Oh,
She is.
I am chairing today, Mary Jane.
Oh, what happened?
May I address the chair?
Yes, go ahead, Sue.
Veronica, I don't know if it's Sue. I think that the joint group here needs to tread very carefully because some of the conversation has to do with things that should only be discussed between the Board of Selectmen and the unions. Okay? You're not just allowed to talk about positions and jobs and things like that.
I agree.
Outside of a legal negotiation meeting. And because it's a joint board, it's a violation of union rules.
I think that it's important that we keep the topic to the omnibus budget, that Nelson is presenting here, and any FinCom recommendations for that budget. I think that's the purpose of this joint meeting and that it needs to remain that way. So thank you, Sue.
Nelson. What's happening with snow and ice?
Nothing has changed.
I'm sorry. Nelson,
Sam?
can you take that question?
Yeah, Sam had a question about the snow and ice budget. I'll go to it right now. It hasn't changed.
So they, other than the last budget, had it zeroed out with using opera funds.
Yeah, and those ARPA funds have, is no longer available, so snow and ice remains the same as, as previous versions of the budget.
And same with highway.
It's the same as last year. It has not changed the amount.
Veronica, do you want to lead the discussion on the second part of the budget?
Which is, are you talking about special town meeting?
Yeah.
We are putting, the Board of Selectmen is putting a placeholder on the special town meeting for an override for salaries and wages as a possibility going forward. Because we would like to see our staffing in town remain as it is, fully funded. And the only way to do that is with an override. And so we are putting a $260,000 budget request on the special town meeting, which we are discussing in section 4.10 of this meeting. So Valerie, is that what do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, no, that was.
Is that a recent addition? I didn't see it on the special town meeting warrant.
Right,
No.
with the ones we got, we did not have that.
It's due tomorrow, so we have the 1 day space to read it.
Yeah.
Okay,
We felt that was a fair thing to ask. The last override didn't pass, and we know that this is none of us want to be making these reductions, but we don't have the money.
so the reductions in the expenses that we've taken and added in the omnibus so far, looks like it's going to be, if we were at 1.3 before, it's about $1 million in cuts then for that.
Well, a big portion of that was was trash.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
right.
there's lots of other expenses too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, there's,
most departments have $5,000 they've cut from expenses.
Yeah.
$10,000 they've cut from expenses, more.
mhm, yeah,
So just to be clear, we're getting rid of trash and we're asking for an override of 200.
Well, we're not getting rid of trash. There's gonna be a special town meeting article to create a solid waste enterprise fund. So that enterprise fund will house all the, curbside pickup expenses, and then all the revenue that the Board of Health, they have a plan of what the fees look like.
So you're
That's gonna
asking
go-
for another override of 260,000.
right, to cover all of the salaries.
That
That
are on the block.
So
that
what if
are on-
that doesn't pass, saying that the other two overrides didn't pass, do we have a plan B on that?
It's the budget that's there.
Then
Budget that you see.
we will go to the unions and negotiate the proposed cuts that.
Oh, so you're gonna ask for the money and then negotiate. Okay.
Well, no, we're gonna ask for the override, and if we don't get it, then we're back to, I guess,
But
the
it-
original
So how
plan.
do you feel about the override? Do you think after two didn't pass and a third might? Just asking out of curiosity.
Well, I think this may be a little different in that they're identifying 5 lines to save, we're trying to save the salaries in these jobs and keep.
So when we do vote, the warrant article comes up in town meeting, it gets voted on. They say yes, it's still gotta be voted on.
It has to have a ballot
Correct.
vote. Correct. It has to pass ballot plus
Yeah.
town
So
meeting.
we would have a special town election this summer then.
That increases.
Yes.
Yes,
The FY.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
Like
and
that.
are we gonna have a constable? We're gonna have to pay the police detail for that. You know, how much is that gonna cost?
I had a question. I saw that email from Melissa about the
The
$19,000
Yep,
cut.
Oh, yes.
So is that,
that's gonna be a municipal transfer request for FY '25. So that's
oh,
part of
so
the
that's
FY
'25
'25 budget.
budget, okay.
So
Okay.
we're in that last 2 months of,
Okay.
And we've got
Okay.
that.
I think, it.
Is that something that's part of the omnibus budget?
Oh, we're not allowed to talk about it.
So we just.
Yeah, no,
we
it
can't-
is, yeah, it sort of
Right.
came up, with, it's not
No,
on the
with
bus.
the email, we got
Say,
that.
I'm lost because there's 3 people talking.
Yes, I am too. So if is this something that's part of the omnibus budget?
For 25, not 26.
Okay, so that's not relevant to this meeting.
We'll hit
Okay.
that,
We just
on
have to be
Thursday.
careful.
It was a piece of information that came out today to us. so-
Okay. And I'm sure it's for the FinCom, but I don't know if it's for this. So are there any other questions on the omnibus budget or the from the FinCom that you have for us?
So Chairman Kell and Hayes, just a question.
I'm sorry, I was just asking Dawn, who's speaking?
This is Kim Craven. You did entertain a question from Sue Lizio and Jody. So just a question. You mentioned it was a little hard to hear. So you might be putting something on the special town meeting warrant. Do you have the contingency budget set for review by the community for that?
It is the budget
It's-
that's
Right.
here.
Yeah, it's this budget.
So that's the exact budget you're going to ask for the override, but not seeing at this point for the community members what would be cut should they not do the override.
If the override did not pass, then the salary reductions would be in play.
So typically communities do know what would be cut. And I'm just curious if you could get clarity for us. Normally under chapter 150.
I believe, Kim, I'm going to stop you. I believe
Yeah.
we've already addressed that when I don't know how long you've been on the meeting, but we did address that with the FinCom early on as far as negotiations go.
And every town that I've spoken to does need to do the same thing and has approached it the same way. You can't indicate individual, unless maybe there was a position that wasn't filled because somebody left. But that would be the only way to take a position that wasn't there, is just not fill it. As far as negotiating this, every other town I know does it the same way. It's kind of like you can't.
Thank
indicate
you,
a
Don.
department.
So,
To be clear, this is what you're going to give for the contingency budget with the override.
The budget.
Yeah, to be clear, there's 5 lines indicated in here. That's the difference. The 5 lines that are highlighted is what the override will be for. If it fails, then these lines stay in the budget. If the override passes, they come out of the budget and everybody stays funded as is.
That is correct.
Great, thank
That
you.
is correct.
So we'll try to make sure it's simplified.
Yeah,
as
this isn't, we're
as
gonna
is
simplify
a
this.
discussion.
to-
Yeah.
Valerie, could you repeat that because I didn't hear you?
The final document presented publicly on the website to the town will be a simplified version of this, without the account numbers and everything cleaned up, so it's easier to understand. But the numbers are all the same.
Thank you.
I have a question here.
Go ahead.
We started, I know. All of a sudden I heard the word override again. I mean, I haven't heard that word for a while. I mean, who brought, where did it come from again? I mean,
I think
not
putting,
from us.
no, it came from the select board, put together this budget. identified 5 lines that will equal 258,000 and change. And they said, because the questions I had heard was, well, it's the first time we've heard about it. But to try to explain it, people have been asking, what is the override for? And it was always just the overall budget, this line. This time, it's very clear, the override budget is for these 5 lines that are indicated in the budget, that if we don't override, then we'll have to take a hard look. And this is the amount of salary that we'll be losing in the town.
End of story, that's all we have to know.
That's,
So our recommendations won't
Are
happen.
you,
well, we can take a look at it. It's kind of like,
Mr. Chair, the finance
Yep.
committee, now that the selectmen have
we,
presented that as an option.
who is speaking, please?
so
The finance,
If this is a communication problem, if I can help, please. The finance committee just heard that the selectmen would like to present a potential override to pay for those employees that would otherwise maybe be
Correct.
affected, okay? It's a very specific override from what I'm hearing, okay?
I get it.
Now,
Yeah, I don't
the
think so.
finance committee can say, we agree with that, or we disagree. They can make their recommendation on town meeting floor when that override question comes up.
So that's almost.
So you guys need to go and vote or vote now on your recommendation for the override article or against the override article.
and that's what our meeting on Thursday is for. This was,
Do we have a meeting posted for Thursday?
we do, yeah. Yes,
Day after tomorrow.
I
day
don't
after
know.
tomorrow, Thursday.
I don't know. Are you sure on that?
I got a confirmation back from the assistant town clerk that it was posted.
The finance committee's job is to approve or recommend not approving.
And that's, now that we have the files and the additional information about what's gonna be on the special town meeting, because that wasn't available
So we should bring this and look at it Thursday.
and then
Okay.
make recommendations.
Oh, that sounds good.
May I
I
ask,
mean,
are
that's
you
what,
guys,
should do.
may I ask, are you guys scheduled to meet again sometime next week potentially,
The
or
10th
the 10th? Yeah, that's what I had
and the
think.
12th, yeah.
With the board or with the board of selectmen or?
Just.
The 10th was open because that's not it wasn't the board. this is the
Okay.
Meeting, but if we want to invite them and bring them in, we can.
Well, I don't like.
Yeah, I felt we might need 2 meetings to get through the
Yeah,
recommendation.
but that's, we may not need it still,
We
right?
may not need it,
Yeah.
and that would be the
Right.
one that would get canceled, and then the public hearing.
Right, and we got the public hearing at 12, am I
Right,
correct?
Right, and then there is a little bit of time in there if we needed to post another meeting, but,
Well, if this
If
doesn't
not,
change,
yeah.
we're
Yeah.
really only gonna meet once. If,
right, I think so.
that's my
From
opinion.
the AR thing. No, it's not, we don't get to. We don't get to do that.
Yes.
No. So all we're gonna do is just either recommend it or not recommend the override, that's it.
I think we should meet and discuss it,
Yeah,
as we should, that's all.
I was sure we haven't posted a meeting on it.
Excuse me, this is Cindy King. I have a quick question. I'd like to know, when did the Board of Selectmen, what meeting did the Board of Selectmen have, excuse me, when they decided to come up with this 260 some odd thousand for the override? I've attended all the meetings and I haven't heard that mentioned in any of them.
Thank you, Cindy. Go ahead, Nelson.
No, you can go,
This is something that, as the budget came out, we will be voting on at section 4.10 today. But Valerie asked that we bring up, because we have spoken about this prior. So with Nelson, when he was bringing this up. So the vote is today for the special town meeting warrant. We could have waited, but we had the FinCom here. All right, moving on, is there anything else with the finance and the select board?
I don't think, Sam, were you gonna ask a question on the
It
budget?
doesn't just, the override has to pass 2 times.
It
Yeah,
does,
we discussed, we
Yeah.
did discuss.
I mean,
So,
that's
okay.
the second part.
So,
All
yeah,
right,
nothing about the omnibus at
The
this point, so
6,000,
we'll
10,000,
continue to
whatever.
review it. We meet on
Something.
Thursday and,
Okay.
that would be
we'll
good.
continue
So,
on.
That's right.
Dawn, do you want to adjourn your meeting and then we'll adjourn?
Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn the finance committee meeting.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn the finance committee meeting at 6:55.
You have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Right.
Aye.
Aye. We stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Dawn. Thank you, FinCom. Valerie, is there a motion to adjourn our joint meeting with the FinCom?
I make a motion to adjourn the joint meeting to come at 6:56.
How much people do we?
I will, Veronica Cal will second that. So roll call vote,
Goodrich, aye.
and Veronica Cal, aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Veronica, you need to recess so you can change.
Yeah, let's just take a quick 5-minute recess. So if we could stop the recording for a minute, that would be great. All right, so we're back at 7:01 p.m. from recess. Moving to 4.1, assign the treasurer collector as the custodian for the sale of 540 Main Street, parcel ID 3180, and Whitney Lane, parcel ID 28120. So is there a motion?
I move to assign the treasurer collector as custodian for 540 Main Street, parcel ID 3-18-0, and Whitney Lane, parcel ID 28-12.0.
Veronica Cal, second. Okay, so discussion. Did you see what I sent in, Nelson, the questions that I had?
I didn't see that.
Yeah, you sent it to Adam, correct? I did see that.
I sent it to Adam and to you, I believe, both of you.
Yes. Yep. I don't know if making Melissa the custodian changes, what happens to those funds once we receive it. It's really just a administrative step that I guess the lawyers or the real estate firm needs in order for the transaction to go through. So I don't think it changes what happens to the funds once we receive it.
Okay, I guess my next question would be, if we did not make this assignment, who would be the custodian otherwise?
So the town, so those parcels are, I guess, owned by the town. I guess that would be maybe the select board. But I think they need an actual person to be assigned the custodian.
All right.
In order for the transactions to go through.
All right. I don't know if that answers my question. Is what it comes down to.
Yeah, I think the town of Townsend is essentially the implied custodians of those parcels. I think for the purposes of this transaction, they need an actual person to be assigned the custodian in order for all the paperwork to go through.
Okay, so why do we need to do it for these two parcels when we didn't have to do it for the other parcels that were auctioned?
Don't know if I have an answer to that. Did Melissa ever mention anything to you, Sabrina? No. I don't have the answers to that. I think this was brought to Melissa's attention by the, the people running the auction and the attorneys on that side.
Did it have anything to do with the fact that it was foreclosure in this case?
I don't know.
Oh, so there is a letter of authorization that goes with this.
I didn't hear that. I'm sorry.
I was just looking at the letter of authorization.
So the letter of authorization, gives a few details. I'm not sure if it explicitly specifies why Melissa is needed to be the custodian for these two properties. But this is an authorization letter that's in SharePoint.
Yeah,
related to this.
and that was what triggered my question.
I wonder if this is a new thing.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I wonder
This
if
isn't.
it's a new process that is recommended.
Yeah, it's nothing that, I mean, it's nothing that I've seen before. And
In the authorization letter, it did say that these properties we did acquire them in lieu of foreclosure. So
in lieu of so that's why.
So I think that adds an additional layer of authorization, perhaps, in order to, make it official. But in the authorization letter, it does say in lieu of foreclosure. So I think that's probably the reason why.
Okay. All right.
Serena would like to add something, Veronica.
Madam Chair.
Yes. Is
Would like to try to get in touch with Melissa Gunner to see if she can sign in.
I'm sorry, I have a hard time hearing Sabrina. I think she's too far away from the speaker.
Sabrina could try and get Melissa to dial in if that would help.
No, that's all right. I'll go ahead and vote for this. I'll go with my questions later. So let's go with a roll call vote.
Valerie Goodrich, aye.
And Veronica Cal, aye. All right, moving down, thank you. Moving down to 4.4, discussion of the 2-month extension of the G.W. Shaw and Son Incorporated contract. So this is a discussion. I guess I have a question on it. I don't know, Valerie, where you stand.
Go ahead.
I want to know if the Board of Health.
Veronica, can you wait 1 second?
Sure.
I just have to sign this that we just authorized.
Are you giving authority to signature stamp your signature?
Yes.
Letter of authorization.
Sabrina, yes. Let me know if you need that in writing.
No.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, I have 2 questions. One is, and these are actually for the Board of Health, but I know I've discussed them with Nelson, and so hopefully he's spoken with them. I want to know how that contract that they've provided to us, this is a contract for a 2-month extension, sort of the existing contract. It's not exactly. I want to know if the Board of Health has provided information on how it is being funded. And I also want to know why they are not going with the plan that provided for pickup only with the, Shaw's, as far as I know, provided us with two contracts for fiscal year 26, one of which was for pickup only, and we pay the tipping fees, and the other was for the full boat. So this looks like it's neither of those two. And so I guess why not go, if you're going to sign a contract, why not go with the 489 plan? And then the second question is, how is this being funded? Because it's not in the general budget that we just looked at. And so signing anything at this point is premature, in my opinion. So that's my comments. So Valerie, going to you.
I may be incorrect in this. The assumption was that this wouldn't get signed until the town had voted on the special town meeting warrant articles.
Okay.
I mean, that I could be wrong about that.
I think that would make the most sense because
if the town votes not to fund
the
the
enterprise,
enterprise fund, then
we have to square that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Just my thought. I mean, if the Board of Health is under the assumption that we signed it before, I think that would be a different conversation. But I was under the I would think that this contract is based on the special town meeting enterprise fund vote for trash from stabilization.
Okay. So this was information purposes only, really. Okay.
That's my guess.
All right.
I'm not.
I'll go with it. I have nothing else for this discussion. Do you, Valerie? No. Okay. Going to 4.5, discussion of the solid waste 12-month revenue expense projection for the Board of Health proposal. This is something I know I asked Nelson to see if we could get that from the Board of Health. I know I made some assumptions and ran some numbers for their proposal as a result of our joint meeting. What was it, a week or two ago? And I see that running out of money in the 11th month of the contract, meaning in May of next year. And so I was wondering, I would love to see this work for the town, because I am a purple bag user and I would participate. But I did send to Christian, and I think I CC'd you, Nelson, on that. How would this work? Could we have a 12-month projection of expenses and revenues, looking at what their assumptions are, and then also what they see happening in year 2 and year 3? Because it's not like the money sits in an account gaining interest for a year and then is there to use the next year. These funds that are being collected are actively being used during the time period. And so the way I see it, like I already said, it runs out. It isn't self-sufficient. So what's the plan for year 2 and year 3 of any contract? Is there an out clause, meaning can the town with 7 days notice say, okay, we're done? It is the select board that becomes responsible unless the Board of Health has some other plan. But what I saw in December, when I again became a selectman, was that it was the select board that was responsible for seeing how we added an extra 200,000 to the budget. And so I have a concern that that's going to happen again, and it won't be the Board of Health or the private citizens who get the notice from the Department of Revenue. It will be the select board. So I need to be confident before I sign anything or recommend that anything be signed, that we have an out, that if the funds aren't there, we have a grace period for paying the final bit of the contract that's due, and that we can get out of it with short notice. So did the Board of Health get back to you? Because nobody has gotten back to me.
They have not.
I know they're.
I think they're still developing it behind the scenes, and I mean, if what we heard from FinCom, there's going to be a public hearing about, probably the proposed fees and what that's going to look like. There some preliminary numbers being floated around for $125 per household. So maybe that will change, in the coming days, but I think they're still developing it.
During the public hearing is lesson?
I think they said it was supposed to be on the 12th.
June 12th? Everybody listening, June 12th?
It's not set in stone because they haven't posted yet. I think they're tentatively scheduled to have that public hearing.
Veronica?
Sue Licio wants to say something, Veronica.
Okay, I do not see. Is she present in the room?
Yeah, she's present.
If you want
Oh,
to.
okay. That's why I'm not seeing. Okay. Sue, go ahead.
I want to just go back to your previous item. I thought both of you moved that question and then had a discussion, but you didn't vote on it or say that you were going to delay it or whatever.
Which
Are you-
one was that?
The contract?
The contract.
There was no motion.
I don't think we made a motion.
Yeah, it was just a discussion. You talking about the 2-month?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a discussion.
Okay.
There was no official
right,
vote
thank
being
you.
taken. Yep.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
Just
Me
making
too.
sure.
To me, it makes most sense to, if any contract, I mean, if in fact this flies, it makes most sense to me to do the one that's, trash pickup and make it a grace period for 2 months. People that aren't going to participate in the sticker program or whatever they're calling it can have those 2 months to get rid of their purple bags that they might have accumulated. And it gives time to get everything in place. And it's a less expensive contract, I believe. But that's just me. So I have nothing else on the discussion of the solid waste or the contract from 4.4. So are we ready to move on, Valerie, or?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right. Discussion of the fiscal year 26 omnibus budget. I think at this point, the only thing that I would maybe ask for, and maybe we want to, is an official vote on asking for an override for the amount in salary that the town needs to keep all of our employees as is for now, for the fiscal year 26. So is there a motion to put
if I can interject, did you want to just lump that with the special town meeting discussion on 4.10? Just to keep it all like sort of in the same topic?
So what you're saying, so do we have any further discussion of the fiscal year 26 omnibus budget?
I guess the question is do you and I want to officially vote on it or wait for Lori next week?
I think we should officially vote on it because we have to vote on the special town meeting warrant and it needs to be on there. So that's what I think. And it's pretty much, for me, it's the completion of the omnibus budget. We know what reduction we need. We know the amount of money that we need for the town to continue forward with the FY26 budget that we have in place. And I think that I know that it's, oh, we're always asking for an override. We're always asking for an override. Well, the town needs it. So, and that's the reason. So,
So if you are voting on it tonight by the functional segment, are you voting on the amount with the?
oh, no. I'm not voting on the budget. I'm voting on the question for the special town meeting warrant,
Oh,
to ask
yeah,
for an
yeah.
override to make that, to make up the shortfall.
Yes, yep. Yeah, so I would lump that in with the 4.10 discussion since it's all about the special town meeting articles.
All right.
But yeah, is there any other like specific things on the FY26 omnibus that you guys wanted to discuss at the moment?
I have nothing else. I don't know about you, Valerie.
No, I mean, I don't think any of us are very happy with it, but that's just a subjective statement. It's nothing objective about it, so.
Sabrina had her hand up.
You have to vote to accept that budget.
No.
No, I'm thinking what we'll do is we'll wait for Lori next week and have like a quick meeting. I'm thinking on the 10th. Really button up the totals, at least vote on it. And then on the 11th, we can publish it, which is a full week before annual town meeting. And that should give folks ample time to sort of review it. So I'm thinking we wait for Lori to get back, and we can talk about it towards the end of this meeting, but I'm thinking maybe next Tuesday, the 10th, we'll just have a very quick, out of cycle select board meeting. Maybe we have to go to executive session. I'm not 100% sure to
explain.
I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, exactly. To explain to Lori, what we've been talking about. So I'm thinking the 10th.
All right. I'll let you figure that out with Lori as to whether an executive session is needed or not. I think that what we looked at, as long as she agrees with it, is what we would be voting on.
I'll figure out some of the details, but I think having a meeting of the select board on the 10th, to finalize the budget, I think makes a lot of sense. Just waiting for Lori to be part of that.
Okay. All right. Moving on to 4.7. Valerie, this one was yours. You're the liaison to Conscom, and you had brought this up at the last meeting. So I took a look, and it does look like it's the common open space for that John Jay development on Dudley Road. And apparently the Conservation Commission found encroachment there on that property, thought it was theirs. I think did they have it surveyed? I believe they did.
It was, if I understood it correctly, it was using Mass Mapper and some GIS software.
Okay.
But even if that's not like accurate to the inches or the feet, the aerial view with the overlay of the boundaries, you can clearly tell that the encroachment is pretty significant. There's no question that there's many feet of encroaching into those boundaries.
So I guess go ahead. I mean, I guess the two questions at hand are, we need to fix the encroachment, and the second is this a parcel that we want to consider putting in conservation? So that's the two questions, right? Because I guess apparently it was kind of assumed it was by a lot of people.
I think that's because typically with an open space development in town, the property does get conveyed for conservation in some respect. So that might be why it's unusual for it to be town-owned, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also the bylaw has changed over the years because I think now there needs to be some further protection than what this is an older development, an older OSPD. So anyway, all right. So I don't know. I think maybe we want to hold off until we have a full board present to vote on whether or not to convey it to conservation. But I think definitely the encroachment has to be dealt with. And
So-
I would be okay with saying the Conservation Commission can act as the agent while we're to work with town council and the landowner to remedy the encroachment.
I'd make a motion to allow conservation to act as agent to remedy the encroachment on, let me just make sure I got it right, sorry. On the Dudley Meadows property.
Veronica Kell, I will second that. Any further discussion?
I think the only discussion would be to later have a meeting, to keep this on the agenda so that we can talk about putting in conservation.
Okay, June 17th then. So roll call vote.
Sally Goodrich, aye.
And Veronica Kell, aye. All right. The next one is just a discussion of the website status after 5/31/2025. Do we have any clarity on that, Nelson?
So MetroGov is, no longer, the webmaster for the town of Townsend. I've been working with Callie to sort of tweak the job description because a lot of things aren't permanent anymore. The only snafu we kind of ran into was, I think the previous vote from the select board sort of mentioned, the hourly rate involved. But this seems more like a stipend or an allowance similar to what Anthony provides to the town, in terms of first line of IT issues. I was thinking this position would be something similar, but again, the select board vote didn't quite jive with that, so I wanted to bring that up to you guys to see if you wanted to maybe tweak or amend what your original intentions were. I think it being a stipend or an allowance is the way to approach this position. So I don't know what the select board's thoughts are on that.
I am okay with it being a stipended position. Valerie, how about you?
I mean, as long as it's being maintained in a productive manner and without, right now it needs to be worked on. It needs to be fixed.
I think those are maybe.
And as long as, however we do that.
Yeah.
If it's if it's part-time, however many hours versus a stipend for an existing position, as long as that need is being met.
So I think there's probably two components to that. There's the ongoing maintenance of the website. Things need to be updated or posted because they're time sensitive. Events and things like that. That is a pretty ongoing and high priority type of need. The other portion, which is really fixing things that are broken, things that don't work. I think there's some, that person can do both jobs. I think the priority should be, doing the day-to-day operational stuff. And the other stuff, you know, fixing broken links and things like that are very important. You know, I think that's probably an auxiliary, you know, responsibility that I think we have to pick away at it. You know, I don't expect this person to be working 20 hours a week on it, because that's simply unrealistic. You know, I think if you sort of did the math, like the hourly rate that you guys originally agreed upon, it averages out to like 5.5, 6 hours. So
We think that's sufficient.
I think that's
Do you
enough.
have in mind to do anything else?
I think, well, that's why I'm saying, that's why I think it's enough to certainly fulfill the needs of like the day-to-day operational, updating the website for relevant information. But that other portion, I think that's more of a long-term thing that we have to pick away at. It's not something we can solve right away, I think. I think with the right person, they can devote some time to it, you know, a couple hours a week here and there, you know, to pick away at the problem. So,
So I am good with it being a stipended position, as long as the job description reflects that and reflects the things you were just talking about. The you know, the connection between making sure the website is updated. We should also make sure that staff gets trained to update their own web pages, because there are things that can be done easily. And then also making sure that the website is up to date as far as, you know, broken links, standardization, those sorts of things. And I would like to have someone being proactive, looking at that and, you know, making sure that that happens. So.
agree.
So do we need to change?
I think that putting it to an official vote probably would make sense.
So I would move that, what is the exact description title?
Webmaster.
And what was it discussed? We voted on it on.
I don't remember now.
It was about 3 meetings ago. Probably one of your first meetings, Valerie.
I'll just say previously, it's fine.
Okay.
I move that the webmaster position previously approved by the select board be changed to a stipend position.
Veronica Kell, second. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Valerie Goodrich, aye.
And Veronica Kell, aye. Okay. Going on to 4.9, discuss the SS4A. I believe that's Safe Streets for All, possible funding opportunities. I attended this meeting. This is something that MRPC put together, and actually I think that this was put out there. I was still a selectman towards the end of my term. There were funds to look at all the towns in the district or in the area for MRPC and look at intersections and places that are not under MassDOT control that could use some care and consideration for making those parts of towns safer for people to travel on, whether that's walking or biking or driving, et cetera, et cetera. So there was a presentation. The group that was looking at this from MRPC, they looked at all 22 towns, and they came up with 4 areas in each of the 22 towns. And Nelson, do you have that? Can you share the Townsend piece of the presentation? They are asking that every town weigh in on which 2 areas the towns felt were the most important, because the final report will have two of the places in each of the 22 towns, so 44 possibilities. And once this document is in place, if the town wishes to pursue the traffic calming, or whatever, things that they recommend, we would have to look at the grant as it is and the requirements for the grant. In other words, is it something that you would need to pay 50% of? And is it something that the town feels is worthwhile? So for funding. So anyway, you want to share that, Nelson, so people can see? I didn't feel like I could say, oh, it's these two. And so I requested that this be put on the agenda. So the red area is Route 119, and as you can see, that comes from the one side of town, and so that kind of was not put out there. But the four sections were Main Street, School Street to South Street, Brookline Street to North End Road. So basically from Hawthorne Brook to North End Road, Greenville Road from Mason Road to the New Hampshire line, and Wallace Hill Road at Highland Street. So do you have the next? So they went through each of these.
And if I could interject for a second, I did reach out to planning, highway, fire and police for their sort of a opinion on it. Highway was a little skeptical because of the matching portion. You need to match up to 20% of the project budget with town funds. And the MRPC gave an example of chapter 90, but our chapter 90 money is so limited to to funnel even a portion of that to do one of these safety improvement projects. It would mean it would really set the paving program behind. So I think highway was not in agreement to be using chapter 90 funds as the matching source for this type of project.
That's perfectly okay, but if it's not, if the all I'm saying is if the funding source can be worked out later, it doesn't mean that you have to do this at all, but without this being in a document, being able to do any of this is probably not going to happen without us funding further studies. And these studies were done. So they looked at fatalities and other incidents in each of these locations. So this is along 119, I believe. And the issue with this one is that it is a Mass DOT roadway, if I'm correct. So do you want to go to the next one? Did Highway recommend any of these or not at all? I mean, assuming we had the money, were there any of these that they felt were more important than others?
They did not, so I'll circle back to them for a response. Planning, well, Beth did weigh in on it, and her recommendation was, let's see, Main Street, she said, was the most important, and then followed by Brookline Street, Greenville Road, and then Wallace Hill Road.
That would be pretty much I would agree with Beth. This one was Hawthorne Brook to North End Road, so going north or south. I could see where in the state forest, if you're traveling south right before you come to where it gets twisty, before Dudley Road, before you get to the houses. Some traffic calming there might be worth it. You know, rumble strips. You don't want to put rumble strips, I don't think, near homes. But in the part of the state forest, it might help to slow down traffic before you get into the center of town there, just before the police station. So that was one place that I thought, would be good.
Police or
Number two, or three rather, this was Greenville Road. Again, it might be worth it, especially looking at these traffic calming measures before you get to the recycling center there, in either direction. There are homes there, though, so you might want to consider which of these you put in, but I thought that was worth it. The one at the top of, so number 4, the one at the top of Highland Street and Wallace Hill Road, I'm familiar with one fatality that happened a long time ago at that spot. But they were suggesting a roundabout, and I don't know how much traffic there is there during like the rush hour times cut through to and from New Hampshire. That road, Wallace Hill Road, is a cut through and it gets busy at times. But anyway, so I would agree with Beth that this would be my lowest priority and the other 3 would be higher priority. But I would want to talk to public safety and to highway and choose the 2 and let them know. So get back to them. I think, Nelson, you got you're the one that received the information on this. So maybe just get back to them because otherwise they are going to pick 2 out of the 4 and put it in the report.
Okay.
So I think it would be good if the town picked the 2 that was most important.
Agreed. And we do, they said we have, they were giving towns 90 days to come up with their suggestions. We're kind of about a little more than a month into it, so we have until, I think.
July.
Yeah.
Sometime in July. I don't have that with me. But, and they are doing another public information session, I thought, that was this was for specific towns. They put like 8 towns together in the same area and talk to them. So I think there are other public sessions. So anyway, that's all. So that's what that is. So Nelson, if you could just respond to them and let them know which are the most important for us, I think that would be good.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm having her back from public safety yet, and I'll circle back to highway. Just irrespective of funding sources, what do they feel are the high priority projects that we would tackle out of those 4?
Okay, that sounds good to me. So Valerie, anything you want to add to this?
No, this is my first time reviewing it, so I just wait to hear from police and fire on their thoughts.
Okay.
And I would probably default to what they said along with planning.
Same. So, okay. So now we're for 410, the review and sign the special town meeting warrant. So can you screen share that, Nelson?
So I did hear back from town council early afternoon. They had reviewed everything. The only one that I would have to add now is the override question. But
if in fact we vote for that.
Correct. So let's go through with what's been looked at by town council, and then we can talk about the override question.
Okay.
The first article is to see if we will establish a solid waste and recycling enterprise fund for starting in fiscal year 26. Again, this is something that the Board of Health is looking to start. So this is just the standard language to create a enterprise fund. Article 2 is the budgetary warrant related to the enterprise fund. So we are going to vote to see if we would transfer from stabilization $160,000, as well as raise and appropriate, this sum of money, which essentially is the trash contract plus some intermunicipal expenses. So that's certain salaries, employee benefits, as well as administrative expenses related to solid waste. So it's very similar to the annual water enterprise warrant article, but
Does that changing of, is there any job description changes that would be part of union negotiations as part of this?
I don't think so, because the health administrator already has solid waste and recycling responsibilities in their job description. So we're now just essentially carving that piece off and those expenses and putting it in the solid waste enterprise fund.
And would the fees be collected by the health administrator or by the treasurer collector?
It would probably be a combination of both.
Where,
Treasure collector.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, who was talking?
Sorry, it's me.
Valerie and Sue.
Sue
I
is
guess.
here. Comes in there.
Water goes through the treasurer.
Right.
All of the funds go to the treasurer. When I pay my water bill, I'm paying it to the treasurer.
Okay.
We started doing that a long time ago.
Doing what?
There was an audit done years ago that said you need to separate out the people who are doing the billing from the people who are doing the collecting of the money. And that's why we have the lockbox, and that's why we have all of the bills coming out of the treasure collector's office.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we pay them. That any different?
So Nelson, this question is for you. I have great questions about this. Who is in charge of the fund? Where is that defined for the enterprise fund? This was vetted by the town council?
Yes, correct.
So how do we raise and appropriate? And who does that? I mean, I thought that the only people that can raise and appropriate is the select board, that we're the only ones that can set fees. Is that correct?
I think there is the exception for the Board of Health to select fees with FinCom for this specific item.
Where is that stated?
See if I can pull it up.
Because when I read this, I don't see any Board of Health involvement.
So it's 34/7. The Board of Health may establish from time to time, amend and authorize collection fees for the collection and or disposal of solid waste pursuant to Mass General Law. Before establishing or amending fees pursuant to this section, the Board of Health must hold a public hearing in conjunction with the Finance Committee. Notice of the hearings must be advertised at least 7 days in advance of newspaper with general circulation in the town of Council.
Okay, so that is in our bylaws.
Article 3, solid waste collection and disposal, Board of Health to establish fees, and that's the only one listed there.
I would want to see this to say pursuant to Article 3, Section 34.7. Because I'm not.
I guess my question to you is then, if does it fall then, and I don't know if Adam, I'm sure someone will probably ask this, but then does it fall outside of, is it then the jurisdiction of the Board of Health to sign the contract and not the Select Board? Similar.
I am good with that. I am good if the Select Board is completely out of it. That would be fine with me. If it's totally with the Board of Health and not within the general fund. When I see raise and appropriate without any reference to the article you're talking about and the bylaw, I have a concern that this will fall under the tax takers as opposed to the trash takers. And I want to make sure that it's there and not here. And to me, this does not quite do it. And I don't know whether or not town council understands that.
I'll see if I can get a hold of Alan first thing tomorrow morning. See if we can insert an additional language that sort of references the town bylaw.
I'm just looking at this and wondering how this becomes the Board of Health's purview. And it looks to me that $16,351 is what will be transferred for FY26. So does this affect the recap somehow for FY26? In other words, the Water Enterprise Fund transfers in the $441,000 or whatever. So does this then allow for $16,351,000? I said that wrong. $16,351 to be transferred in the recap from this fund to the town for FY26.
It would, assuming this article does pass.
Correct.
So yes, it would be reflected in the tax recap, similar to the water department transfer. That is correct.
So I just need more details on these. The first one, not so much, but the second one, yes.
Okay.
I don't want the town tax base to wind up being responsible for $786,000. And I want to know how this keeps that from happening.
Well, so here's the problem. The enterprise fund, yes, inherently you would think that it would be ideally self-sustaining. The tax base is never being used. But if it does run a deficit. I hate to say it, the general fund is responsible for the difference.
Is that true with water?
It would be, yes. But again, most enterprise funds are well-established and the rates and the revenue is enough to offset any of the expenses. And if, I hate to say it, if there are large anticipated expenses coming down the pike, water and sewer departments typically just raise their rates like crazy amounts, 10, 15, 20%. Of course, they're doing it in a legitimate way. There's new rules and regulations coming down from the federal and state government. So you see all these, crazy expenses. So they end up raising the rates. But water is something that really can't go anywhere else. Trash, on the other hand, people have choices. So I think that's where you're going to run into issues if the revenue does not cover the expenses. The general fund is on the hook for the deficit. That much is
And I think that's something that we just need to make sure is clear during the meeting.
Yeah.
Because if I do the math with the 2,000 people that they expect to do it, and I divide 2,000 into 786,000, I get the fee that's being charged at $393. Why would you do this? And we're still buying purple bags, or have they removed purple bags completely?
I believe purple bags are still part of this.
They're still part of the program.
So that's part of that 780.
Why would you do this versus just contracting with a hauler yourself? When I suggested 200 for the fee last time around and was told no, too expensive, will never happen. Or are they thinking that everybody in town is going to do this and they're dividing by 3,000, which still puts you over $200 for the annual fee? And we're taking from stabilization.
And I think this is where the Board of Health is going to have to present this to the town meeting. And it's
their program, and I think they're still developing what the revenue and expenses is going to look like, certainly for the first year, if not beyond.
Nelson, if we, the town, the select board, the town, the taxpayers are absolutely on the hook for this, I think that you need to be talking to them as well and making sure, because putting the town in financial jeopardy for trash is not the plan I would want in place. And that's my concern with all of this. I'm all for trash, but not if it's going to mean that we wind up in a deeper hole than what we're already in. And this could put us there. I want Bobby Joe at DOR to understand that this is happening too. Because where are we going to find $200,000 or $400,000 to make up the difference?
Would it make sense for these questions to come to the Board of Health and FinCom at that public hearing that they have to have?
Is it going to be a remote public hearing? Is there going to be remote access to it?
Because, if we wanted to ask Department of Revenue to weigh in on those things.
I do want Department of Revenue to weigh in on this. I need to know that this works.
I think that would be the format. If there's those public hearings must be.
On the 12th, when there is a Zoom that posts.
All right. Well, those are just my concerns. I I don't have I am not seeing answers to my questions, and I am very concerned. We don't have a pool of ARPA money sitting there to bail this out. It means that we'll have to have a special town meeting and we'll have to go to stabilization. And if it doesn't, pass, well, then where do we go? This is in the fall. And I don't know. Okay.
I think this is the Board of Health's, I understand your concerns, Veronica, and I share some of them, and I think we have to see where it heads with the public meeting and those concerns being raised. And
I think that the select board needs to be part of this. That's what I think. Because if they can't answer these questions, it's not the Board of Health or private citizens that are going to be on the hook. It's the select board that's going to be on the hook for this. And, I don't know what they're thinking. I'd love to know where these numbers came from, because these numbers are not what was in what Christian handed out at the joint meeting.
What's the public hearing?
Does the board agree on having a joint meeting with the FinCom and the Board of Health on the 12th? Before the public hearing? Before that public hearing. Oh, before.
Oh.
We could do that on June 10th.
Before they, that has to be advertising. Is that the public hearing?
Yeah, I don't think I want to step on their public hearing.
Or does the board want to designate someone to attend? So,
Okay, well, I've voiced my concerns. I'm really concerned that
Veronica, do you want to bring those concerns to the Department of Revenue and be our representative at the public hearing?
I can't be at the public hearing. I will not be in town. I can't be physically present there.
There is a remote portion to it, but you should also check the public hearing. It is stating that the Board of Health and Finance Committee are jointly recommending a new enterprise fund.
So I would like that in the article then.
it is mentioned in the agenda, hearing that's posted on the website, that comments can be sent to the Board of Health.
So maybe if we can get from the Department of Revenue their thoughts, like you mentioned.
Can you check in with Bobby Joe Nelson?
Sure.
I know that Ross had discussions with her in August about the trash plan that went forward for FY25. And I know that they came back in December and we had to reallocate $200,000. We can't have that happen this year. And if we do, it's the Board of Health that needs to be responsible, not the Select Board, not the taxpayers.
Veronica, there's a guest who would like to be recognized too, if you would.
I can't see her, so go ahead and recognize her.
I'm just curious because I haven't really been following that Board of Health stuff that closely. How much money do they need to?
It looks like 940,000.
Wait, that seems high.
Well, if you do the.
I mean, if they were gonna leave the purple bags the way the purple bags are now, How much money would they be short
Um,
for the new contract? I guess my main question is, whatever that number is, why aren't they asking for an override specifically for trash? Until they can figure out how to do this better.
Uh,
I mean,
I-
people have been complaining that, I mean, the complaints that I've heard anyway, have been, well, we don't know what it's for. I mean, you're talking about adding something here specifically to keep services and employees. And that amount of money is specifically for that. You can't get more specific. If you're as specific in asking for an override for trash with purple bags the way that they are now and a new contract, then you can't get more specific than that. And people make a choice.
That's certainly possible. I don't think that's the route they've taken.
I think the reason for this is that they want it out of the tax base, is what I'm hearing. And that's why, but I think the trick here is that we need 2/3 to approve that sum of 160,000 from stabilization.
Well, that's part of it.
So
I'm just curious why.
Yeah, the override for just trash, I think it's been contemplated, but no one's really seriously considered it. Not that it's not that it's not worth considering, it's just that there wasn't enough support to explore it some more.
Well, I mean, people in general don't like an override. But if you know it's for a specific thing, you know exactly what you're buying. You either say, yes, I want it, or no, I don't.
Right.
You know, how do you judge how people are gonna vote on that? I don't know. It doesn't sound like they've got all their ducks in a row.
They still have some work to do between now and, town meeting.
What's today's date?
Today's the 3rd.
Not long.
15 days. So let's move on to the rest of the articles. Article 3 is from Parks and Cemetery. They're looking to appropriate $15,000 for upkeep and maintenance of the cemeteries, and they're going to be taking out of the sales of lots fund. So,
yeah,
pretty standard, nothing fancy about that. Article 4 is a citizen's petition to amend the charter related to constables. So we just took everything verbatim, put it in as a warrant article, and we will see what happens. And that is it for the warrant articles that town council has reviewed as of early this afternoon. I think the one that we would now be discussing is putting a warrant article for an override in the amount of $260,000 to pay for wages and salaries for government operations.
Municipal employees.
Municipal. Yeah, correct. For FY26. So.
Probably discuss this now, right?
Yeah. So. So, do you guys need to sort of discuss and a little further and make an official vote on it?
I mean, I think this is exactly the number for those decreases that we need to balance the budget. And if we're saying this is the balanced budget and we're voting on that, and if the townspeople decide to fund this, it would make that difference and would go to those salaries and wages that we're cutting. So I think it's very cut and dry what they're for.
I agree, and I think that with the way you've presented the budget, Nelson, that is we have the budget there. The override would fund those lines. Reduction, if the override doesn't pass, then we have the budget that we have without the override. And so I would,
Do we just need to add what the total would be if that override passed?
maybe we should just use the exact amount as opposed to the 260,000, use the exact amount in the warrant article. So that it fits the budget that we have in play, and we don't need two separate budgets. It's
Okay.
pretty cut and dry. This is exactly what the override is covering, those reductions in salaries and wages. So it would be, what was it, $258,827? Is that what you have, Nelson?
Correct.
Repeat that number one time. Nelson?
258,827.
So I would move that we place I'm sorry, do you want me to go ahead, Veronica? Or?
Yes, go ahead, a motion.
I would make a motion that we place in Article 5 on the special town meeting warrant for $258,827 in a Prop 2.5 override for salaries and wages, as indicated, decreasing in the FY26 budget.
And wording contingent on approval by town council.
By town council, of course.
I will second that. Veronica Cal second. Are we ready for a vote?
Nelson wanted to add something. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Valerie Goodrich, aye.
Veronica Cal, aye.
You just made the motion for that particular warrant article?
Yes.
Okay, so I think you need to make a separate motion to approve the
Special town
meeting warrant, and sign out a session, contingent on,
review by council.
yeah, town council.
Sorry, I got it right here, actually. I move to approve the special town meeting warrant contingent upon town council review and sign the special town meeting warrant out of session.
Veronica Cal second. Any further discussion? All right, roll call vote.
Valerie Goodrich, aye.
Veronica Cal, aye. All right, that puts us to 4:11. Discuss the annual town meeting continuance setup. I was good with exactly what happened on May 6th.
Yep, I spoke to Dave at TCAM. He's since spoken to his counterparts in Pepperell, and you're exactly right. What the setup on May 6th was, I think, went off pretty smoothly, so we're just gonna sort of repeat the process and, go from there. The only thing I heard, and I think I mentioned it, was there's some sort of band camp at the school that week.
Oh, yeah.
They might be practicing that night, but I think the auditorium, there's doors that we can close, is pretty well insulated, so I don't expect there to be much of a disturbance from them. But you'll probably see some kids floating around that building that night.
I think that the only other thing I'd add to that is just that, like we've been discussing, we have more copies of the budget and it's a little bit easier for the town voters to understand, like we're discussing for the meeting, the new one.
Yep.
Awesome.
Okay. I don't think we need a motion for this, correct?
Very
All right.
good, 412.
Okay, so that takes us down to 5.1, town administrator updates.
I just had a couple,
Should I ask for a signature? Vice Mayor?
Yes, please.
We just do one more thing for 412, Veronica.
For 412,
You just have to approve a stamp signature.
I approve. Thank you.
town administrator updates. I just had a couple small ones. We have an additional questionnaire related to the annual insurance renewal. Sabrina, has that been circulated to the various departments yet? Okay, so we're just waiting for responses from that. It's kind of slow going, but we're gonna nudge them as best as we can to get the responses we need so that we can button up the annual insurance renewal process.
Hoping to button this up over the next week, so it goes through as a renewal for.
Yep. I think we kind of briefly talked about it, municipal relief transfers. We spoke about it kind of earlier, but it was kind of not within the scope of the agenda, but I certainly have the freedom to talk about it now. I think there's only a few areas that would need a municipal relief transfer. Well, FinCom tonight mentioned the health insurance line. According to the treasurer's office, we're going to be about 19,000 over. So we'll get a release transfer for that. Board of Health has a little bit. They bought some purple bags out of their operating budget in the early stages of the pay-as-you-throw program. So that was unanticipated. So they're running a deficit at the moment. So there's going to be a small transfer from there. What was the other one? I think the property liability insurance line item was over by like $215. So we're going to need a transfer there. And I think the only other one was in accounting. The assistant town accountant had through the previous town administrator, got bumped to a different step on the salary matrix. But this was done in mid to late June, and by then, town meeting was over. The budget had already been approved, but nonetheless, it is a binding amendment to a personal services contract. So we need to, do a small relief transfer to make sure that area is under budget as well.
So those forms are usually signed by the select board, correct?
Yeah, and I think FinCom said it didn't really matter who did it first, as long as it's both done. So
I think that's true.
I'll work with FinCom to see who is going to do up the forms and who should review it first. So I'll work behind the scenes to get those up and running.
How much was the accountant transfer?
You mean how much we expect the transfer to be?
Correct.
Let's see, I think I had some preliminary figures. Probably somewhere around 10 to 12,000 would be the
Okay.
amount.
All right. And do we have places to take these from, all of them?
We do.
Okay, good.
Yep. So
It'll be
I have
on the
some-
form. I'll see it then. I don't have to know right now.
Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
there's some areas that we can take some money out of.
All right.
And, that was all the updates I had for the board tonight.
Okay.
What, Sabrina?
Leaving the past, the select board.
What?
Oh, the select board voted on it? Yeah, let me talk to FinCom first. We still have some select board meetings lined up between now and June, so we'll circle back to it another day.
Is this to vote on the MRTs?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought we needed to do that. Okay.
Yeah, we'll do it next time, once I, work things out with finance.
Usually we have the forms to look at when we do that. Okay, that sounds good. Moving on then, Nelson, is that it for your update?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Reports from board liaisons, general government. Anything, Valerie?
I
No?
know. I mean, I have the thing about the band concert from Betty May.
Mhm.
Should I read that now or? Yeah. So, Betty May just, or you know what, that could go under communications. Go ahead. That could probably go under 5.3. Never mind.
Okay, all right. I don't have any real report. The CR committee for Squanicook Meadows is still meeting. We have another meeting at the end of the month, and we're hoping to get a little bit further along. So that's all. I don't have anything else to report. All right, moving on to 5.3 announcements.
Okay, so I have one from Betty May that I will read. The Townsend Military Band will opens its 2025 Thursday evening concert series on the Town Common on June 5th. Weather permitting, the band will play a concert on the Common each Thursday between 7:30 and 9:30 through at least June 26th. The Townsend Military Band is managed by Betty May Tenney of Townsend and conducted by Thomas Souza of Chelmsford. Mr. Souza is the Brandeis University Wind Ensemble Director and the Band Director at North Middlesex Regional High School in Townsend. Mr. Souza plans to feature well-known show tunes, marches, patriotic music, and children's music in the Townsend Military Band's Thursday evening concerts. The concerts are funded by the Town of Townsend. Lawn parties hosted by local organizations, which always feature food and often include activities for children and other assorted tables, are held in conjunction with these concerts. Any local organization interested in sponsoring the lawn party at a July or August concert, assuming they will be funded, should contact band concert coordinator Betty May as soon as possible. Area residents of all ages are encouraged to bring their own lawn chairs or blankets to Townsend Common on Thursday evening so they may sit and enjoy good music in the company of friends and neighbors, as well as a variety of food and beverages, which they will be offered for sale. The Townsend Fire/EMS Relief Association will host the lawn party at the Townsend Military Band's Thursday, June 5th concert on the Town Common. Townsend Fire EMS personnel will be selling hot dogs, hamburgers, and sausages with peppers and onions to hungry concertgoers. They will also offer homemade baked goods as well as cold soda and bottled water for sale. I think there's also a list, I'll stop there, of tunes that will be performed. It's posted on the website.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other announcements. Do you, Nelson, have anything? No? Okay.
What's that? Oh, that's right. Oh, there was one thing, I'm sorry. Thank you, Sabrina. This just came in, from the Townsend Republican Town Committee. It came in at 1:43 p.m. They were hoping to reserve and use meeting room 2 on Juneteenth, 7 to 9 p.m. For a meeting. It is a holiday, but that's when I know they're aware it's a holiday, but they want to meet then. So what we could do is unlock the doors for them.
The select board would have to vote. They allow.
Right.
They
So
usually use it what's their usual?
when do they usually meet? It's in the evening though, right? But it's usually like on a work day.
Yeah, usually it's during.
Yeah, but this time they're looking to meet on Juneteenth. So I don't have a problem with that, but I think the select board does need to vote to allow them to use meeting room
Would
two.
someone need to come in during a holiday?
No, we would just,
Program
we
the
would just
doors.
program the doors to unlock maybe half hour before the meeting started.
And lock at
Lock.
9:15 or something. Okay.
Yeah, correct. So I think the select board just needs to vote to allow
All
them
right.
to use meeting room.
Is there a
two.
motion?
I would make a motion to allow to allow the Townsend Republican Town Committee to reserve the use of Memorial Hall Room 2 from 7 to 9 p.m. on Thursday, June 19th for a meeting to be scheduled with access before and afterwards.
Okay, Veronica Cal second. Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Valerie Goodrich, aye.
Veronica Cal, aye. All right, so anything else? Is that it? Okay, next meeting is June 10th at a time TBD, correct? To final vote on budget. And after that, the 17th at 6 p.m. That's a Tuesday, followed by the 18th at 6 p.m. and town meeting at 7 p.m. on 6/18. All right. Is there a motion to review and sign payroll and bills payable warrants out of session?
I make a motion to review and sign payroll and bills payable warrants out of session.
Veronica Cal second. All those in favor?
Valerie Goodrich, aye.
And Veronica Cal, aye. All right. And with that, we will return to our executive session, which is in recess. So is there a motion to return to the executive session in recess and adjourn from there?
I make a motion to adjourn to the executive session in recess, as previously mentioned, and to adjourn from the executive session.
And we are going into the executive session at 8:27 p.m. Second, Veronica Cal, and roll call vote.
Valerie Goodrich, aye.
And Veronica Cal, aye. So thank you all very much. We will adjourn from executive session.